Welcome to today's lesson on the square knot. The square knot's also known as the reef knot, and that's the knot you see right here. This should be a pretty easy one for you to tie, but to make it even easier still, I'm using two different colored pieces of rope. So if you have two different colors, I recommend that you use those. It really helps to see the pattern of how this knot works, even though it's a basic knot. But if you don't have a lot of experience, even something like the square knot can be initially confusing, and it's easy to get it wrong, and we'll look at what that looks like too. So I'm going to disassemble what I have here. Now I'm going to take the green rope in my left hand and the red rope in my right, and I'm going to be working with the green rope, and the red rope's really mainly going to kind of go along for the ride. So I'm going to cross over the red rope with the green to form an X. Then I'm going to just loop the green rope around the red, creating a turn. And now my green rope's on my right hand side. It started on my left. And now I'm just going to cross the green rope over the red again and create another turn around and pull, and there is my square knot. Very classic symmetrical appearance. These two ends coming out of that loop or collar, these two ends from the rope of the other color going through the collar or loop of the other colored rope. One way to tell if you've done this correctly is to grab the ends like this in both hands and just push and pull, and you'll see that loop separate, those two loops separate and come back together. That's a very classic appearance that tells you did it the right way. If you can't do that, then you know that you didn't quite get there, and just take the knot apart and try again. So let's do this time from the perspective of the red rope. I'll take the red rope in my right hand, cross it over the green, create a turn. Now the red rope's in my left hand. I'm just going to cross back over the green, create another turn like so, and pull, and there is my square or reef knot. Well, what if I wanted to tie a square knot and I didn't have two different ropes or two different color pieces of rope? You can still do that with one single piece of rope, and we'll be able to capitalize on something that you already know from the prior training video on the overhand knot, because a square knot is really just an overhand knot tied around another overhand knot. That's all it is. And here we just have to rely on our pattern, since we don't have two different colors, of saying left over right, make a turn, and now right over left. Now what were to happen if I did both? Instead of going right over left and then left over right, I went right over left and then right over left again. Let's take a look at that. So I'm going to go right over left, make a turn, and now I'll go right over left again. And now I'll pull, and look what happens. Okay, you can see how the rope begins to torque and twist. And if I try to look for my nice neat pattern, I just don't see it. And this is a granny knot, and most of you have probably heard of a granny knot. And one thing about the granny knot is it's just not very strong, and you can see it's going to come apart if I keep pulling. And I have rope that comes out at about 90-degree angles everywhere, so that's one way to tell that you did not tie this correctly. And again, this is nowhere near as strong as the square knot and will tend to very easily slip and come apart. So practice that, get comfortable with it. That should be relatively easy for you because you have the knowledge of the overhand knot. And if you have two different color ropes, you can very easily test that you have those patterns correctly. And as soon as you're ready, I will see you in the next lesson.